All right, we are live. I'm just going to wait a few seconds to make sure that StreamYard and YouTube are talking. Usually takes them a couple seconds to start jiving with each other. There we go. Outstanding. Now we're starting to talk to each other. But yeah, so here we are. Welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm your host, Ed Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to Deconversion Hangout. If you're unfamiliar with how this might work, I do get my lurkers from time to time. Deconversion Hangout is where we talk about deconversion, and we talk about those of us that have deconverted kind of support each other. Call it a support group for people that are deconverting, so to speak, or have deconverted and still struggling with issues like myself. So there's that. So, but yeah, that's kind of what we do here. Because of that, there's some rules. My mods have rules to be not tolerant at all of preaching. So if you come in here as a theist and you start preaching at us, there's a pretty good bet you're going to get timed out for a lengthy period. So make sure you respect that rule. So there's that. Also today, there's a goal in the chat of 5. If I hit that goal, I will wear whatever hat is leading in the poll at the time. So there's that. So, but before we get too far, let's get a roll call of who's here. Fred was here early, opinionated and proud, and Cranky Elder God. See, the thing is, Cranky, I mean, you always, high all always says something. A Cranky Elder God that's high. Great image. Hey, Katie, and Katie's here, and then Aso, I made note that you're. Yeah, that's your new image that I've seen. Now that's good. Looks nice. I know the artist who made it, so I'm going to say that. Let's see. Paul is here. I haven't seen Paul in a while. That greatly depends, and you know what I mean. So there's that. Wolf is here. Phantom is here. Martin is here. Triple E is here. Anne Marie is here. Owl on the prowl is here. Welcome. Yeah, I'm kind of doing that myself. I'm sitting back and watching. This is a popcorn moment. It's gonna be great. I predicted long ago the way the Trump administration is operating, it's going to implode on itself. So there's that. She mailed it. Okay, well there you go. See, that's the thing. You know, you and me have the same artist, so we both have good taste. So that's good. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, so it's Deconversion Hangout. I don't know. It's Pride Month, so I guess normally I do a video about all that, and every year I'm caught in holy hell for it. So this year I'm not doing a video on Pride Month. So I'm just leaving it the hell alone. For a couple of years I've tried to, because I'm a poli-sci guy and I kind of understand how to make things work better and how to present your case better in a political system, and trying to figure all that stuff out. And I've tried to help the LGBTQ community a couple of times doing that, and every time it's just, oh my God. And so this year I'm just not going to bother. So there's that. You said 9 months, you're kind of right. Yeah. My whole thing, Al, is when you look at Trump, he has a very bad habit. Okay, he expects loyalty to himself no matter what. But the moment somebody voices on his own side voices a disagreement with him, he absolutely brings the hammer down, and that's a great way to make enemies. And he's making enemies of his own household, and it's just stupid. Okay, it's just stupid politics, and so I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for it to implode to a point where he can't get anything done. So, and that'll be that. So, hey, Iron, how you doing? Good to see you. Actually, I wanted to. Yeah, well, yeah, we all know that. But yeah, see, what's going on in my life? I usually try to start with something in my life for deconversion, and I don't know. I think politics has always been one of those deconversion issues that I tell people don't just switch your viewpoints. Think about every viewpoint. The biggest difference, I think, between being a believer and being a non-believer when it comes to politics is you got to like look at every issue and figure out what your values are. And I always tell people you might want to take the values and morality journey as part of your deconversion first, and then come back to politics to see how you feel about stuff. So we'll see what happens. Let's pray that Mod doesn't show up. Really? Did you see? So I found that conversation actually quite fascinating. Um, um, I actually kind of love Mod. Yeah, she's here. I told you. You got to watch what you say around here. So there's a whole bunch of people here. Everybody hangs out here. I mean, you have to be like a subscriber for 20 minutes before you can participate in chat. But I know a lot of theists that are subscribers to this channel. So, always, I think. Always. There's always deconversion issues because your psychology gets so warped by faith. You have to kind of you discover stuff that you didn't know you had, so to speak. Like a lot of people talk about the fear of hell, like they don't rationally believe in it, but there's always, every time it comes up, it has a psychological effect because of indoctrination. So there's that. So it's kind of one of those things where for those of us that were in the faith a long time, it never seems to end. There's always something. Plus, if you're also if you come out of a situation where everybody else is still believers and you still have to deal with them on a daily basis because they're your family and friends, yeah, that's still, so there's that. So there's that. The little birdie told you she was lurking. Well, there you go. There you go. And speaking of the living definition of fashionably late, here's Earl. Good to see Earl. There's Depocalypse. Deconvex. Yeah, I think the big thing with those of us deconverting is all the sociological and psychological effects that still linger no matter how far you get away from your faith. I've been out of the faith for 9 years and no longer preaching for 7, and still stuff crops up. Like there's always something there that causes you to go, that's probably from my religion, and I just never got rid of it. And so deconversion is a constant process for some of us. If you're like lightly religious for a year, probably deconversion isn't a big issue for you. But if you're like me, spent 40 years in Christianity, 20 years of it in the pulpit, it kind of does all of that. So there's that. Yeah, I will let you take. Oh, and she's giving everybody air smooches too. Right back at you, Earl. So. Oh, but there we go. I don't know. For me, I don't know. I last week I talked to my therapist at length about my family because I'm coming up on a family vacation, maybe I can get the chat to give me some opinions, because I'm going on vacation in the middle of July. I'm spending 4 days, well, probably 2 half days and 2 full days with my family. I haven't had my kids all in the same room in probably a couple years. So that's kind of the goal, to get us all back together for a few days. I'm going to be the only probably openly active atheist in the room, and that has me nervous. So, so there's that. But as a deconversion issue, dealing with my family comes up often, and so I don't know how I'm going to handle this at this moment. But me and my therapist talk about this vacation coming up a lot as it gets closer, as it looms. It's like just a little over a month away. My eldest son was an atheist for a time, but he's gone back into faith for whatever reason. I get it. He's now the head coach of a Division III Catholic university's football team. So, I can't imagine they would hire an atheist. I don't think that will work. I don't think that'll work, Mod, but it's a hilarious idea. So, and then my middle child doesn't care, but he's been through a lot of personal tragedy this last year. He was engaged to a woman who basically dumped him after 4 years of him taking care of her and her kid, and who isn't his. And then my youngest daughter has always been a very devout Christian, following in her daddy's footsteps until her daddy didn't walk that direction, and then she's walking on her own. But yeah, I don't know. I'm in a position where I'm walking into a place, and the big highlight is it's going to also be like they wanted both me and their mother there. And so it's going to be the longest time I've spent with my ex in the same vicinity, probably in almost 4 years. So I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm worried about. So there's that. It's hot in California. Well, that's why I don't live there. Your ex-pastor just sent you a video titled "Miracles Reporting Confirmed by the Church in India" appear on a communion wafer. Yeah, because you see what you want to see when you're a pattern-seeking mammal. Couldn't be that explanation. No, it's got to be a miracle. Or I don't know. Could they have? I mean, I see images of Odin everywhere now. Does that prove Odin's around? So there's that. I get, like, I think you and Fred have both mentioned that, Paul, that you've never been a believer, so it's hard for you to understand people that leave it and why they need support. I get that. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy you and Fred are here, and those like you, because it helps you understand that this is a different game for people who used to believe and now don't. There's a lot of psychological things to deal with. So that's valid, Cranky. I think that's a valid beef that you have. So there's that. Oh my gosh. But yes, you do appear in calamari all the time, and nobody ever gives you credit for that. I don't get that. That would piss me off, Cranky. That make me go from cranky elder god to pissed off elder god. So, hey Ronald, the Green Acres theme. I don't plan on bringing it up, Evan, but I don't know where my kids are at about this issue. The other issue is the autism. Like, they have a trouble understanding parts of how I work as an autistic person to begin with. So they don't understand that that's a kind of way to open up communication between us, because I have all my children that want better communication, but it's like, whenever I communicate to them, like it's always too much. Like when I do finally open up emotionally to my children, they're like, "Hey, Dad, I didn't really want to know that," and so it discourages me from opening up further, and they don't really. Yeah, I'm trying to get across to my kids the idea of you need to allow people to express themselves without judgment. Just let them be who they are and not do that. So I should explain why say to you. Okay, BS, that's fair, but I don't think that'll work either. Oh my goodness! All hail Odin. Yeah, BS in a jar for your it's false advertising. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I get that most of you dig the need for support. It's hard unraveling the deconverted brain. Okay, the deconversion brain is going through a lot because you've lived by these patterns of behavior, being religious and having false ideas about reality for a long time, and so it's getting used to that. There's a lot of getting used to stuff. So trade my weather for something else. It's 78 here today. Sugar-free cookie. How awesome is that? I didn't even think of that angle. Okay, that's great. It's great because it's like, oh, I've always loved the whole Eucharist thing. The whole communion thing bugs me immensely now. It's like when you really think about what communion entails, it's like, oh my God, what an awful idea. Yeah, I've seen the triple digits in California. No thanks. I'm hypersensitive to heat, and it makes me depressed. So, I mean, yeah, valid point. How would anybody know if they're talking to Satan or God? I'm going to bank that people are talking to themselves. So, I'm not sure that would be help. Oh, religion and just enjoy your family. Yeah, I'm going to probably do that. I'm going to try. I don't know. See, I may end up focusing on the kids. I think the biggest thing for me is trying to communicate to my kids that how to deal with me and how to communicate with me and how to let me communicate with them. Like none of my kids understand the phone phobia thing. Like I hate phone calls and I hate making them. And it's an hour, half hour to an hour debate before I can make a phone call. And I think Earl's mentioned, I'd rather do a whole hell of a lot of things other than answer a phone call that are far more embarrassing in some ways. But it's like they don't understand that, and so it's like it's better to text me, and I get more out of texting than phone calls half the time. So, but they have a hard time accepting that, and they don't understand that part. Um, and they all have this desire for communication and better communication, but it's like in order to have that, you got to let people be themselves. You have to listen without judgment. And unfortunately, my kids are all pastors' kids, and I challenge you to find a pastor's kid that isn't judgmental in some way, shape, or form, because they spend all their time judging, being judged, and so one of the defense mechanisms I see in a lot of pastors' kids is being judgmental of others, so that they don't feel so bad about people judging them. So. I am grateful that my family is massively weird. So talking about random weird styles, par for the course. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to stick with 90. Okay, there we go. Yes, cannibalism. That's what I love about communion. Justified cannibalism. Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking to explore that part of it. It's a good discussion for those of you who are going to have family gatherings this summer, probably up here in the north. Barbecue is kind of an American thing, but it's like all subjects come up at certain points. So, my thing is usually I'm like, one of my responses, I think, to my oldest was, "I'm sorry I was so effective at indoctrinating all of you." So Jesus Anonymous meeting. Is that what this is? BS. It could be. What was that? Did you spell? Never mind. I see what you did there. Oh. Uh, you have severe text phobia and anxiety? See, I have phone phobia and anxiety, like actual phone calls. I think it's because it's like initiating social contact, and I have a hard time doing that. So, yeah, they're all millennials. So, all my kids are millennials, and they've just grown up with it being very commonplace. When I was a kid, the phone hung on a wall, and you only answered it if you really wanted to. Today, it's really hard to avoid answering phone calls, and it just gets overly so. Everybody has their nose in a phone. Yeah, I can see that. You do include yourself in that weird comment. Yeah, I mean, there's another one. I mean, Christian rituals, communion, baptism. Um, like it goes with the family thing because every once in a while my kids will start talking about their spiritual experiences and when they were baptized as kids and I was there. I think I did one of my children. I baptized myself, so I think it was Edward. So, sad but true. I haven't seen most of my grandma's side of the family either since she died, and she was kind of the glue holding things together. Trouble audio problems better when I can't see a person's face. So with a couple of major assignments specific, I hate phone calls. Yes, I think that's part of the reason too, because it's there's a lot of theory. I can't remember what the dominant theory is about why autistic people, at least some of them, have trouble looking other people in the eyes. But I think it's because the eyes just have so much going on. It's hard to we over process it. 90% of the calls you get are from bots who say they're returning your call. Okay, you remember calling them? I, it's a blood cult. Um, Boy, that was a hard day for me when I realized that I was part of a blood cult. Like everything was about blood. Forgiveness is about blood, and there's this assertion there's no forgiveness without the shedding of blood. There's no evidence for that, but it's a nice assertion. Um, and one of the things I'm glad to be put. I remember having several discussions in the ministry. The one guy said, from an evangelistic point of view, do I lead with you need the blood of Christ applied to your sins? That's why I'm so glad Fangs like deals with vegetables and not anything that bleeds. It's like it'd be a problematic deity for me as Fangs' prophet if I didn't if he was a blood god. So I'm so glad he's more vegetarian. So but yeah, that's kind of one of those things that I'm glad to be over is the blood cult aspects of my former faith. I don't see the shedding of blood and breaking of bodies and all that as a positive. I'll just put it that way. So there's that. You go to the source of the problem. You hate people. There you go. But you're an elder god, so that's understandable. People should be very understanding of the fact that you hate people, and most of us join you. So rectangular prison. Well, my rectangle's kind of big. There I go. I don't recognize the number. I don't do it. Heck, half the time when I do recognize the number, I don't. It's usually just family that gets through automatically. JW's back. When he got disfellowship, nobody would communicate with him at all. Yes, the child sacrifice is built in, definitely. Headcanon is that Christians are secretly vampires. That's going to be possible. Yeah, I don't get that either. I'm not really glued to my phone when I'm with my family. I'm like, it sits in my pocket. So every once in a while it goes off and I go look to see what it is, but usually it ends up right back in my pocket because I'm here with my people and that's who I want to talk to. Luckily, my daughter is that way too. So when I go to my daughter's house, we talk because we don't like our devices. So yeah, it's a very surreal thing, isn't it, BS, when you realize that you're part of a blood cult because blood is so central to it. Like it's like you have to shed blood and the whole Old Testament sacrificial system is about blood and it's massively huge how much blood is involved and then you get Jesus and the writer of Hebrews and the fascination with it just starts to get a little bit old. It's our fault, Logan. Yes. We're born sick and commanded to be made well and good luck. So I hate people. Don't forget old rules about the blood. Yes. Can't stand people who talk over time. I'll tolerate it for a few minutes before I blow my gasket altogether. Oh, your wife and I have always communicated via text. Okay. Stop in the name of blood. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the other day of back to my Pentecostal days and thinking in the hymn book how many of the hymns were blood based. Are you washed in the blood, in the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? Like it's there's like 20 hymns in the hymn book. You probably could go to a hymn book at any time, open the communion section, and you would hear that. Um, there's been several famous songs in the Christian world about communion, and they're all blood based. So it's kind of like, eh. So it's one of those realizations when you like sit there for a while. It's like, yeah, um, sounds like a 1960s movie. Yes, it. Uh, I don't know. When it comes to the blood element, I don't know if Pentecostals overboard it, but they have, and that's an upbeat song. Like it's Washed in the Blood is like an upbeat song. It's like one of those upbeat hymns that you'd hear, and it has like this I don't know, real high melodic kind of content. It's not very bass oriented, so but it definitely like hits you in the feels as far as if you're a believer, it's like, oh yes, this blood of Jesus washes me off and makes me clean, and so but it's. I mean, you can look up. Heck, I'll look it up. Um, yeah, the song was by Elijah Kaufman or Hoffman, and yeah, you can look it up. So, but yeah, it's a song that is part of many hymnals. So, are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? And it's there. You can look it up, and I'm sure it's on YouTube with lyrics and music. So, impossible to get out of whites, Yeah, but it's one of those things that it's one of those songs that I look at now like that's just gross. Himself to appease himself for the rules he himself made. Yes, yes, being cleansed by blood. None of the Bible authors ever tried to get a blood stain out. Yes, yes. There's a lot to talk about blood, but as Christians actually say that much blood things might be different. Yeah, yeah, it is an icky song, but yeah, you can look it up. "Washed in the Blood of the Lamb" by Elisha A. Hoffman. I'm kind of every once in a while somebody will say something that reminds me of a hymn, but yeah, and that's one of them. But getting over that was a big one for me. That was a nice one to leave behind. There are some things that once you realize how icky they are when it comes to their concept in Christianity, they're easy to leave behind. Like the whole idea of child sacrifice. Yeah, I know Jesus is an older child and supposedly chooses to be sacrificed, but it's still like the fact that that's an acceptable idea that kind of goes out of your brain too. Um, it's always strange to hear little old ladies about being washed in blood. Yeah, it kind of made you wonder what they were talking about. Yeah, I get where you're going with that, Ronald. Yes, bloodletting. Bloodletting is oddly still around. I was kind of aware. Oh, hey. Oh, that's a great one, Earl. Very applicable. Did you just do that on the fly? I have to know. Did you just do that one just based on the discussion, or did you have this one already? Oh, it's an old one? Okay. Fair enough. Oh, my goodness. All right, there we go. Let me see if I can get this up real quick because it's so applicable. There we go. Oh my goodness. That is so very well done though, Earl. Very well done. That's no AI, that's hand drawn. Oh wow. Good work too. Like outstanding work. I like it. Oh, but yeah. I don't know. I mean, I mean, there's a lot of things in deconversion that I can get rid of real quick. This was one of them. The whole washing in the blood was just, it was an easy one to kill. Like I got over that pretty quick. Don't get me wrong, I love good vampire story, and I've written a few good vampire stories. Well, I don't know if they're good or not, but and blood's always a part of that stuff. But it's oh, does hydrogen peroxide actually get the blood out? But see, the Christian idea is like if you go to that song and and listen to it, okay, read the lyrics. The idea is that if you apply blood to your sin-staked life, that your garments will be spotless and they'll be white as snow because of the blood of the Lamb. Now, that makes absolutely no logical sense for anybody who's ever dealt with blood in clothes. But that's the kind of thing it's a little thing, but it's a good example of little things and weird things that your faith will make you believe are true that aren't demonstrated in reality. So it's like, yeah, it's one of those things. Brainwashed in the blood of the Lamb. It's 2 years old. You know, you been dealing with this for a while, Earl? This concept. Yeah, Lost in the Blood, Nothing But the Blood of Jesus. There's some other ones you can look up. Like there's hymns to this shit. And I was telling this a little earlier, I was telling the story, like we were talking about evangelism one day when I was still a pastor. And the guy was asking, I don't think it's a good idea. He's saying, the more I think about our theology, I don't think it's a good idea to lead with, have you been washed in the blood of the lamb? Kind of thing. If you do that to somebody who doesn't understand that, that's a very creepy thing to say. And the fact that Christians have songs about this and they sing those songs, um, it's one of the things as a deconverting person, I am like totally down with getting away from. Um, there's just the whole communion thing. The more I think about it, the more creepier it gets. It's a very, vampiric, cannibalistic idea. And so it's kind of really weird that, you have this religion that's supposed to be love based. Um, where is that at? Where is that going to be? It's like, how do you not get away from the idea that your religion is creepy with this stuff? It's like, and yet people all over this country, all over Europe, all over the world believe in Christianity and its blood ritual. So it's like, okay, but they kind of keep it on the down low, except for insiders. It must be, maybe it's that third circle level of being a Christian. I don't know. Once you get in and you learn the secrets, the blood secrets, I guess. I mean, I could rewrite Christianity and have fun with it. So, I have very little left blood. Yeah, we have show and tell every once in a while. Yeah, that's BS. That's one of those contradictions among Christians. Is like God owns everything; He's in control of everything, but Satan is in dominion over this world. Okay, so which one is it? Okay, so what you got? Oh my goodness. Yeah, it is very on topic though today, Earl. Well done. Well done. Hmm. Saberhagen, I don't, name doesn't sound familiar. It must be a new one for me. There's so many good, it's funny because like I've done some vampire stories myself. My vampires are always a little bit different. But I don't give them always the same weaknesses. So it's like, but yeah, I remember studying that. And it's like, everybody looks at Dracula by Bram Stoker, but it's like there were a lot of vampire stories before him. So, he was just like that. Yeah, well, he's nibbling at your heart. But he doesn't like drink your blood out of your heart. He just nibbles on it. So there you go. So Jesus had hydrogen peroxide in his blood. Would that work? Is there any biologists in the room that would tell me if you mixed hydrogen dioxide with blood, would it then be a good stain remover? I'm just curious. So ancient used ammonia from, yeah, but they had to separate it out though. They knew they had to separate, you know, the ammonia from the rest of the urine, otherwise it wouldn't work. You just get yellow instead of white. So Holmes Dracula type. You appear a carrot union and not the fangs. There you go. Yes, they do. Communion, however, for Pentecostals is symbolic. So it's symbolic of something. It's not the actual blood and body of Jesus. So they have that going for them. But yeah, it's very symbolic of like the blood is more of a symbol of forgiveness and the body is more a symbol of community and unity, So, but yes, they do practice communion. Do it a little differently. Like you've probably seen those communion sets where you have the little cups in them and the little wafer on top of the cup. That's kind of how it does. You just kind of pass them out and everybody has their own individual one. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of that way. So it's more of a, yeah, it's more of a a feeling based thing, like all things that Pentecostals do. They just want to have a feeling about the blood of Jesus and a feeling about the body of Christ, but it's not really like the same theology as like a Catholic or a Lutheran or somebody in between there. So there's no transubstantiation in Pentecostal rituals, as far as I know, unless there's some offshoot group, which I wouldn't doubt there is. Actual Drac story is pretty, yeah, it is a pretty interesting story. I actually kind of like it. Yeah, everybody has some sort of blood ritual, some method of communion. I don't think most people go as far as, say, the Catholics do with the the whole idea that it actually becomes the body and blood of Jesus. I think I don't think that so too many people, the Catholics have that, and I think a few other mainline denominations have that. But when you really consider it, as weird as Pentecostals are, they when it comes to communion, they're kind of actually a little bit more normal in the fact that they only look at it as symbolic, not as actual body and blood. So they have that. So depends on the Pentecostal. When I was a Pentecostal pastor, I had communion once a month. Like it was usually a beginning of the month, and we also usually timed like a fellowship event, usually a potluck or something, that same Sunday as well. And the whole idea of this is Jesus bringing us into community, and then we'd have a community, we'd break bread together afterwards as well. So it was kind of like the whole idea was what brought us together as a community kind of thing. It's one of the strengths of religion is they do know how to build community around their rituals really well. So try a little priest or any time. That wasn't popular, taking the supernatural stuff out. We need some detergent. See, I am looking for something to sell. If we're going to be a proper cult and make money at this, we got to find something to sell. And I'm thinking, I don't know. We got to find something that people can do. A fangs-based detergent isn't a bad idea. Like better than the blood of Jesus. It'll take the crap out of your life better than the blood of Jesus. So there's that. Alex, I'm wondering what people would be thinking right now if they're entering the stream. Well, yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of vampires that are just like over the top evil, but yeah, Protestants don't have a lot of trouble with transubstantiation, but I can't. Lutheranism has like what I would call a transubstantiation light. I can't remember what Luther called it, but like he couldn't get over. He had a problem because he didn't think it was the actual body and blood of Jesus, but he couldn't get over the fact that Jesus said, "This is my body and this is my blood." And so he came up with some sort of, like Luther often does, he creates this middle ground, this wishy-washy position. So, so that was that. You can partake, yes. My feeling is we have destroyed. Is that too woke today? Transubstantiation is too woke. I'm still trying to figure out what woke is. I can't get a standard definition. You always have to talk to the person that uses the term to figure out what it means. Oh, that was a Broadway production. I'm still kind of a fan of what's the one from the 90s where they didn't have CGI yet. So a lot of the effects are like magician's tricks and stuff like that they did for that movie. Oh my gosh, it's Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1993, I think. Really good one. It's a famous actor in that one when he was young. I can't remember which one at the time. My brain is fried today when it comes to entertainment. Yes, they do. Like if communion wine is violated, they'll throw it away, or well, the priest will probably drink it. But but yeah, there's like communion wafers, they have to go through a whole process. I'm sure there's a video about that somewhere. But yes, I remember talking to a priest about that. Like, there's certain processes and procedures they have to go with everything, and if it's violated at some point, they throw the wafers and stuff away. So, yeah, true. I honestly, communion is not as big a deal in Pentecostal services as they are elsewhere. Yeah, some people do that like every fifth Sunday, so they have it 4 times a year. That's one way of doing it too. So, okay. Bites of bread with no gloves, dipping it. Yes. They're probably thinking bloody chat. Yeah, I mean, I don't come up with a tithing rule. I'll wear a hat if you guys give me 5 super chats in a stream. So, but we got a lot of votes in the poll, but no super chats yet today. So there's that. Yeah, I wonder about that too, Katie. Are all religions just able to tap into the pyramid scheme? And some people figure out the pyramid scheme enough to be at the top of the pyramid kind of thing. Consubstantiation, fancy words. Okay, that's right. Consubstantiation. That's right. So it's like it's sort of kind of the blood and body of Christ, but not really. Hey, Ashra, you didn't get an alert. Oh yeah, that's right. That's one of the first times I remember seeing Keanu Reeves. He's in that Dracula. He plays one of the victims in there. So, he plays the boyfriend of Dracula's love interest. So, you're in the woke. Okay. Oh, he did? Yeah, that's right. That's why I like that one so much. It's a very good one. And he didn't use they didn't use any like computer effects in that one. That is like one of the last movies where you have a lot of actual effects artists and stuff having to do that one. So, the days you needed good writing and couldn't hide a bad story with CGI. Yes. Yeah, it's a well written screenplay. So, and they had to do a lot of things for real. So, a lot of work back then to do a movie. That's why all the old Star Wars movies are accomplishments because they use all those models. Yeah, well, we're talking about some of the movies. Did your tradition, Alex, have like "Washed in the Blood" as a hymn, or "There's Power in the Blood," or there's like 7 or 8 of them we had that we sing at communion? Yes, it's Constance. Yeah, some say Keanu is your boy crush. I think he's a lot of people's bro crush. It had Winona Ryder too. Okay, there we go. Like and this is like early in both their careers. Like they were young actor and actress at the time. So very good movie. I still like it. Uh, Thanks, Cranky. Appreciate the support. And yes, I killed Earl's pick here. That's saying we're talking about communion and the blood of Christ. Very appropriate for the time, it seems. Yeah, Yeah, it was Gary Oldman. That was Dracula in that one. So, who did his role really well too. I'm not sure you'd get a different effect though, Paul. I mean, I've had people share to me, like during a communion ritual, they have, as a former Pentecostal, even though we didn't have communion as often, um, I had a lot of people during communion services that would share all kinds of weirdness with me about how they had a vision of Jesus on the cross or whatever. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Man, I don't, I'm not sure you'd get much difference actually, because I've had some weird shit told to me after a communion service. So I'm not sure. LSD might not make any effect at all, to be fair. So fair. I just think that Dracula movie had the best overall cast. Like it was a good group of people that played their roles well. So and nobody. I don't really remember. I just remember the movie and the story more than I remember any character in it. So, and to me, that's always a sign of a good movie because there are some movies where the character takes the show, kind of thing. So, let's see, I really didn't understand every time everywhere else but there. There you go. I had a hammer in the morning. Oh yeah, I don't know if I watched that one. That's not a bad one. You could probably tell I'm like a vampire fan. I'm also a werewolf fan, so but I have different views of them that are my own. I've written a lot of fiction with werewolves and vampires in it. I mean, if you went back to like my old blog, All Things Rabyd, when I was still a Christian, there's a fictional series called The Theology Pub, and near the end of that series, it's very urban fantasy kind of thing. Yes. Uh, yeah. Wolf, where? My bro and I got caught and we were walking in the back of the dark and a jump scare. The wolf popped out and the popcorn flew all over. Oh, expense reports? Yeah, me too. Yeah, yeah, it's probably true. Yeah, got a bit of porn at the same time. Yeah, that's true. I remember that. Yeah, there's I don't know. I've always been fascinated with the concepts, and then when you kind of bring this up to Christians, that they're not maybe one step removed from being a horror film because of their rituals. Yeah, so it's not hard to take a Catholic church and turn it into a horror film. That's why it's been done so often. So, any parts of my Sunday schedule that you would happily got rid of, but were forced to keep? Jesus. Uh, I honestly, I would have gotten rid of the like offering plate experience. Like I would have rather put like a box in the back of the building and say that's where you put your offering and just not have it be part of the service. But that was me and all the churches that I went to. There was always this guy on the board that was saying, "Well, you got to keep it in front of people, otherwise they won't give." You know, and so it's like, okay, very well. And then that person always had power, so everybody kind of nodded their head on the board, and then I'm kind of left with, okay, I got to keep the offering as part of the service. So, but I've always kind of like, nah, let's get rid of that part. So there's that aspect of it. But I don't know. Do not know. Silver bullet. Why does that sound so familiar, Anne Marie? See, I remember at one point when I was working in a thing, a bunch of us managed to freak I should work by showing a video of the Levite blessing. Talk about creepy. Oh. That poll is very close, but it's not going to happen. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Very, very close this time. The black top hat is actually winning, so, but not by much. So we'll see. Yeah. God was a cheerful ghost, so give us as much as to make you happy to give. Yeah, we had the cheerful giver line all the time too. Like, God loves a cheerful giver, give it with a smile on your face. And I am fairly certain a lot of people gave with that smile being an expression of pain for their personal finance. Your first bad book, you think? Okay. That got better as it went on. American Werewolf in London. Yes, I remember that one. I actually have, there's a song associated with that, Werewolves of London. I can't remember the artist's name, but I like singing it. Every once in a while that comes up on my playlist. It's a hilarious song. I think I like the line in that song the best. You need to stay away from him, Jim. He'll rip your lungs out, Jim. And then the next line is, but I'd like to meet his tailor. So, Silver Bullets and early Stephen King. Okay. So it might be worth it. Stephen King in his early days is definitely worth it. Yeah, because nobody realizes that, but Leonard Nimoy had to kind of create a lot of Vulcan stuff on the fly, and he grabbed the salute from a synagogue service to do the Vulcan salute. Do androids dream of electric lamb blood? I don't know. Sounds weird, but it also sounds like a great movie. Black and white. Yeah, black and white hides a lot. They got really good at the end of the black and white days. They had gotten really good at hiding bad things, movie production things by using black and white, and then they couldn't do it anymore. So thought it was earlier. Okay. Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I love that song. Yeah, because I just love that line, stay away from him. He'll rip your lungs out, Jim, but I'd like to meet his tailor. So, like there's this whole vibe with it of the London proper gentleman being mixed with the werewolf, and I kind of like that. Let's see. I'd agree with on that. I would also get rid of all the cringy interviews they do with new converts. It's hard to watch. I think we've been talking about communion for a bit here. One of the things I had to do in my life as a pastor and a Christian education director was teach a new converts class a couple of times. And some of the hardest stuff to get across is communion, baptism. In a Pentecostal church, in Assemblies of God, you have baby dedications. You don't like baptize infants. They believed in believers' baptism, so you got rid of that. But it's like, but yeah, it's new converts was always an interesting discussion because there's a lot of things in Christian services that needed to be explained far more than I ever did anything else. Like I always had to explain communion and the blood and body of Christ every new conference class ever did, because it's just a weird concept. Okay, to a lot of people, it's just a weird concept. So yeah, it's one of those weird ideas that you have to get across. Your baptism is another one, although that one's not as gory, but it's still like there's all kinds of views of what that means too. So, but new converts in any religion is always an interesting topic. Like what is the initial indoctrination that you have to do to solidify somebody's decision for Jesus, for instance? And me and my pastor I worked for had long discussions on what that needed to be. So baptisms with a pet bat would be more fun. No, according to theology, I don't know. It depends on what Christianity you come out of. Like I know that in my case, being a former minister and being a former believer, I am sure there's a very deeper layer of hell waiting for me as a traitor to Christ. Like there's this whole traitor mythology that Christians have. Like it's a stick used to keep people in line. But I know like the Assemblies of God would have considered me, worse than everybody, then that I deserve something more in hell than other people because of it. Fundays are like that too. They'll absolutely smash you with that. Now, I am like, there's no consequence for me beyond death other than death itself. So, and I'm kind of, the more I've thought about eternal life, the less I want it. Okay. I don't. And so, having a place where I'm going to end up hanging out and being burned forever in a more, there's parts of hell that are like, 500 degrees Fahrenheit, or Celsius, depending on which one. Celsius would be worse. And then there's others that are 600 and 700, it's like, and we're all going to get something worse because of what we are. Yes, the Judas or Alexander dilemmas. It's like you're worse off having known truth and left it than have never known it at all. Yeah, it's you see this in Dante's Inferno. Like Dante has a harsh view of traitors to the faith or people that were just absolute like monsters toward the faith. Like it's clear that there's a bias there in their thinking about stuff. Like they are going after people that were part of the faith and then left is a worse fate than if you never knew it all. Okay. A person who doesn't know it all might get in. Okay. Like I think I've seen several atheist discussions in this last month on different channels about this issue. Is why do you even evangelize then? Just leave people in their ignorance, because they have a better chance of earning heaven in their ignorance than they do if they learn the gospel and reject it. Because if they learn the gospel and reject it, it's automatically go to hell, do not pass go, and you're a piece of crap. And if you accepted the gospel at one point and then reject it, that's even worse. So it's like, why even evangelize? Why even go down that road? I think that's been one of the things that I am so glad to be away from now. Like I don't have this view of I'm worse because I get rid of an idea. I'm going to be redoing my 10 Commandments series from 5 years ago. I did a series called the 10 Commandments Suck 5 years ago. And it's like one of the first things I did when I did this channel. And it's due for an upgrade. And, that's one of the things that I'm kind of looking at from a moral standpoint. Why is it worse to accept something and then reject it? Okay. And God seems to have in the 10 Commandments this problem with different ideas than himself. Like he's very egotistical about himself to the point where he won't allow like art. I mean, like, Earl's going to hell because she does art. She makes graven images. And so therefore she's violating that commandment all over the place. But so is every Catholic that I've ever known in every Catholic church. So it's like, why is it so horrible to Yahweh God for people to have ideas other than the ones he gives them? Okay. If they're bad ideas, why not just show how they're bad ideas? But he doesn't do that. Okay. So there's something about religion that causes people, and this is why some of the things we deconvert, to just accept what authorities say, and then you live your life based on the authorities, what the authorities say. And so any idea that pulls you off that idea is somehow worse than if you never knew in the first place. So, yeah, ignorance is bliss. Yeah. Never got fully baptized. It's funny how they seem to make it simple, and yet they keep adding more and more rules. This is kind of true for salvation too. You know, you've heard the line of salvation. It's just a free gift from God. And then it comes with all kinds of terms and conditions. And the terms and conditions keep getting longer and longer. The more you study the Bible, the more you realize that the idea that salvation is free is just, that's a load of shit. So there's that. Oh, they would never evangelize, keep their religion secret, and never have kids. All right. Good to see you, Katie. Yes, you need to feed the starving masses. Hey, it's the Damn Show. One of the best names on YouTube. Good to see you. Okay, it's partially baptized. I don't know. There's probably some Christian sect that believes that. You're fine. None of it is believable to me, so it doesn't bother me that I was baptized. COE was my parents doing, and traditional, and it's meaningless to me. But understand, it's not necessarily meaningless to your church or wherever you were baptized, because they would consider, well, you're still saved, so you're good, Fred. You're all good. Oh, it's just struck me that the ancient days or before masculinity, it's the scariest religion that would win. They had to scare you into it. They had to be scarier than the other blood cults. Yes. And I think this is why Yahweh survives, because as a god, he's one of the most scary ones. The other ones allow you to have a little fun. Like, you know, there's a lot of, you know, fertility gods and love gods, you know, that part of their ritual is, you know, having a good time, you know, Dionysus, some of the other ones. And Yahweh ain't like that at all. Like, if you have a good time or put a smile, we talked about this last stream, you put a smile on your face as a believer, and you might be in trouble. So there's that. But yeah, that's the belief. And once again, though, Pentecostals are like symbolic with this, whereas other ones like when you're in infant baptism, I've heard some people explain it like when the water goes across the head of the baby, that's when they're saved. Like they're covered until they have to make their own decision, as some other denominations. And then for us, it was symbolic of your new life in Christ. Like you were crucified with him, you went with him into his burial, you're buried and then raised to new life. That's the kind of symbolatry that Pentecostals used when I was a Pentecostal preacher. So yeah, it's meaningless. Those people. No problem, Damn Show. You guys are, I wish I could catch you more, but I'm usually getting home from work at the time you're on, and I'm like tired. So yes, Gate Pentecost, yes. You would try to be good. I know you will fail. I'm just saying scary. I'm understating it to make a point, but yes, Yahweh's a very scary God compared to some of the other ones, like even some of the ones that he's going up against, supposedly, you know, because there's only one God, but then God talks about gods as if they're real, like Baal. You know, somebody mentioned Baal earlier, but Baal is a fertility god, like, and part of his rituals were sex. You know, like you have a good time at a Baal festival. You know, at Yahweh's festivals, there's no good times. Like it's a very serious religion that's very scary. Yeah, he's scary until the chariots of iron come along. So I try to do it as quickly as possible. As far as baptizing people, it gets problematic in the winter in Michigan to baptize people if you don't have access to some sort of indoor pool or something. One of my churches had a baptismal, so that made it easier. I would baptize people like every 3 months or so. You know, baptism wasn't essential to salvation, so it was just something you were commanded to do, and it's like following the commands of Christ. So you wanted people to do it. But if a person died without being baptized, if they had made their confession of faith, they were still going to heaven. So it was not a big deal to me. So yes, Baal knew how to party. Yeah, he knew how to partay. Yes. I mean, when you look at Baal worship, and I think he has a consort goddess, same thing. Like the two of them knew how to get down. So, so yeah, that's probably true. Polar bear swimming for baptism. I guess I could have used the line like, "We're going to find out how many of you really believe here. You're going to get baptized in the ice." But yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I look at communion and baptism, it's like first communion meant nothing in the Pentecostal church. It just meant it was your first. I mean, I've been watching a lot of Godfather clips these days, and when uh, when the youngsters have their first communion, it's always a big deal. So there's that. But yeah. Huh. Okay, I like this one too. I'm telling you, Earl. I'm assuming this one's AI though. Sorry about this, folks, but Earl is sending me artwork. Yeah, I got to load them up here, folks. Just a second. But I always like to save things before I do. Okay, this is the first one. There we go. So there's the first one. Okay, so this is your first one. This is a lot of editing by Earl, changing it, moving things around, but I remember, was it Katie or somebody that had, or it was Ashera who's back with us, had the observation of fangs sitting in your lap, and so it ends up pretty good. So this is an AI one though, but it's been heavily edited, I would assume, by Earl to get it the way she wants it. And then I'll show you this one. This one, she says, is all AI. Yeah, let's open this one. Oh, hold on. I have to get rid of one. I have to get rid of an image to use another one. I have limits. Sad. Try to keep some things loaded up, but there we go. This is all AI though. I do have to give AI credit for the I have to give AI the credit for the carrots as fangs. Oh, I do love this one. This one's great, Earl. I like this one. Oh God, I hate long hair. I've done it once. My hypersensitivity goes off the chain with it though. But the black suit might be do it. Man, see that's the thing, because I would definitely do this look myself, to be honest. So yeah, the carrot fangs on this one are they definitely are cute. The fact that AI got that one, the lightning bolt. So AI did okay on this one. That's not bad at all. Yeah, it's my night elf alter ego. I could probably, what I could do with that is I have costume stuff. I put in for the week of Halloween off for that very reason, is I just want to have fun that week, being different characters. And I have a lot of stuff. Like I have a Grim Reaper garb and an Odin garb, and I could probably pull off a medieval whatever. So there's that. But yeah, I could do that, and I would probably have to get like a wig for the hair though, because one, it takes a long time for me to grow hair anymore. So just as an aside. So like I can go like 6 weeks in between haircuts, and it's not too bad for me. So Bill and Jordan. He still likes to be spoken to, but I still insult him. He's like, see, I've been using a little AI too. I'm a writer, and I love to like illustrate my stuff in order to see, kind of get a picture in my head of how it's supposed to look. But I hate the length of time sometimes it takes to do that. So there's that. But yeah, I could definitely get like a long white wig for this look, and then the top hat. I already have a top hat, but I would want something better for this. The suit, yeah, I definitely want. It looks like a period suit, something maybe 100, 150 years ago. So I'd have to do that too. But other than that, I've got a few things that I could use. But yeah, it's like it's good. Thanks, Fred. Appreciate you, man. But yeah. So yeah, this is a good one, Earl. I really like this one. Symbolic numbers. There we go. Oh man. Okay, so you told it to, yeah, I'm like, it's something. Okay, so a 1940s suit. That's probably not too bad. I could probably find one of those. See, the problem is I haven't worn a suit since I left the ministry. Even when I was teaching, I refuse to wear. I have a hard time wearing ties because they make my neck itch. But so there's that. But yeah, it's a 1940s suit with a top hat. That's, I don't know. I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2 lately, so I can see this look. I kind of like it. The feather in the hat is a nice touch. And Fangs is being a good little bunny, which is rare. Thanks, Earl. Oh, nom nom. All right, one more. One more, and I don't know who's leading. It's not the top hat, though. Now it's the Black Fedora is still leading. So one more super chat, and we got a Black Fedora sighting on the Rabyd Atheist. So, but yeah, the remarkable thing about this picture, Earl, is that Fangs is just sitting there on your lap. He's just sitting there. It's not his nature. So, yeah, it's a cute image. I'm glad you were able to make that image. I remember when was that last stream or a couple streams ago. Asher made that remark about Fang sitting on your lap, and so there's that. You voted for the bunny ears hat. Okay. Oh, Ronald made it. I think I finally arrived. Okay, and the winner is. It looks like, yes, Black Fedora. So, and it edged out the top hat by a little bit. I do have my Black Fedora. So we'll make sure the reveal is a little bit better than that. So thank you everybody for your support. I know this is one of the best support streams out there. It's one of the only ones I know of. So, oh, there's stuff on this fedora. That's not good. There we go. But yes, I'm a true, genuine Yes, he's usually a placid little bunny. Okay, very much. I'm not sure about that. Oh, the knife's in her other hand. Okay, I got to look at the picture again now. Oh, yeah, could be valid, Cranky. Could be valid. I mean, not that it would actually kill Fangs. Fangs is eternal like most gods. You just have to keep passing it on to somebody else. Yeah, it's an actual fedora. It's a Godfather styled one because I wouldn't get anything else. Lady is a tree. Nope. I'm not going to sing that. It allegedly. Oh, yes. But yes. So, but we have a fedora sighting, and I'll hang around for a little bit longer too. Usually I bugger out about now, but I'm going to hang out for a little bit longer because I love talking about artwork. It's one of my, yes, the ungodly Godfather. That's probably it. Not that the original Godfather was that godly. I bet they were good Catholics. I think the greatest scene of the first movie is Michael going to the baptism of his godson while all the murders are taking place. I have written a little bit of nonfiction. I Earl here does her art for therapeutic reasons. I write for therapeutic reasons, and so I've been working on and off on my deconversion story, but I've kind of gotten a little bit. I want to do something different with it. Like to me, written deconversion stories out there are kind of a dime a dozen, and I'm aiming more for, you know, you've had doubts about your faith, and I'm here to push you over the edge with my story. Okay, so it's like, yeah, it's one of those things where I'm kind of I do that. I'm also thinking if I do a nonfiction book, it may very well be something like why I don't believe in God, and here's the reasons, and put that in a book. A lot of people have done that though. Do both. Yeah, to me it's all just writing has always been therapeutic, and I write poems. So I write poems and I write fiction stories for therapy, and usually it's like an urban fantasy type of thing. But I've done raw, true fantasy like you know swords and sorcery type stuff, and I've done a little science fiction. So um, see you later, Mark. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Used to write Christian children's books, good news, none published, and all lost in fire. Outstanding. I it depends on what fantasy. Like I am not into like the grand save the world fantasy books. I read them and I like it. Like the Wheel of Time was good, okay, but I much prefer like a dungeon crawler, like you know, a bunch of friends from the local village decide to visit this ruin and discover some things that are more than what they seem, but it's like low key, like it's not end of the world stuff if they fail, kind of stuff. So, um, I don't, I prefer fantasy that's more about the friendship and the relationships between the characters in the story, and that's kind of what I write. But I've written a lot of urban fantasy where you have it's modern day, but all that crap is real. So as well, like a lot of like if you're a Harry Dresden fan, I've written stuff like that. So and it processes my thoughts. That's why I write poetry. Is like it's one of the few ways you'll get my emotions in the raw. Is writing poems. So I don't know if my poems are any good, but they're definitely an expression of how I feel. No, I don't think that's going to work. Deconversion has a multiple choice adventure book where you jump to different pages depending on decisions. I don't know. Me and Earl have been challenged to write a children's book involving fangs. So yeah, it's like yeah, your stuff, Earl, is definitely you can't make this shit up. It very much is. Oh, have you heard the good news? There is no God. Yes. Yeah, I'm not into the save the world, chosen one kind of. I'm much more like cross, the Scooby Doo gang with a fantasy adventure where it's like it's more low key, like it's more about friendship and saving each other, and I much more prefer friendship stories, I guess, in fantasy. So or allegory that illustrates a point. Like my whole theology pub when I was struggling with my favorite illustrated my struggles. Um, so the bartender is my avatar in that world, and he goes through a lot of struggles with his faith and dealing with different situations, and eventually, has there's a side character, a little beagle called Pint, so, and Pint is kind of like Fangs, he's got these superpowers, but he's his own dog. So, and it was just a lot of fun to write, and I would write it for therapy and kind of put my struggles in more of an emotional tone, and it helped a lot. I mean, and now I see it as part of the deconversion process. Like, there's if somebody's deconverting, you can probably usually look for some artistic expression, and you can, if you really, you don't want to read too much into it, but you can kind of figure out there's always some way to break away, and people either will break away with like artistic pursuits or addictions, one or the other. I had the artistic route. I think it's a better thing to do. Oh, now that, Asher, is a hell of an interesting book here. Talk about a deconversion book. You're writing a book that's each character of my religious trauma. Ah, ooh, yeah. That one I could see. That's a great idea, Ashra. Tell me when it's finished and published. I will buy it. We'll buy that shit. Needs fiction when you're you. Oh, see, I used to be that way when I was a minister. I felt like shit just followed me. We've had this discussion several times about, like I have a lot of experience, inordinate amount of experience with just weird relationships that people had in my church. It's like you find out the little dirty secrets when you've been a pastor for a while. So, yeah, called the Poe population and why, yes, or code. You write code. AI is going to put you out of a job, man. Watch out. Okay, so you have your murder mystery. 19, right after World War I, the pandemic entered Norfolk, which, oh, yeah. Well, that's an interesting time period. See, because World War One is just one of those interesting wars because there was also like this flu epidemic hitting the whole world at the same time. Several people have theorized that it's because of the war. Like the war caused people to, it's kind of a grimy environment. The longer you've been deconfirmed, the more theists seem like unhinged kooks. I was never a theist, and they seem like unhinged to me. Yeah, I think you feel that way if the longer I've been out, the nonsensical nature of it really gets to me. Like I don't know how to describe it. I relate to understanding what they understand personally a lot less, but I understand why they believe it still. I usually, like 90% of the time, it's somebody who grew up in the church, and the other 10% of the time, it's something like, um, it's beyond that. It's they've come to the life themselves, and that's where it ends up being. So it's when you see somebody convert later in life, it's usually something they've done to themselves. And so there's that. Back to Stranger in Fiction, yes. Yeah, you guys should go to Earl's blog. She writes down a lot of these stories, and these are true stories. So it's like, it's always my advice, but I don't always listen. Dark Retreats. Oh, that sounds like that's a good one. Yeah, I remember hearing about that, Earl, that the pandemic started in Kansas, not Spain. But yeah, it was like there's all kinds of theories about that, but I think they did finally trace it down. So yeah, it was just they wanted to go to war, and so we're going to come up with all kind of shit. Yeah, I imagine that could be true. See, I've read so much about World War One, and it's been all over the place. I don't know, and the pandemic part of the flu part of it's interesting. I think I was playing a computer game briefly called Vampire, which takes place in 1918 in the UK, I believe. And the main character is a vampire who's also trying to cure the plague, but the plague has supernatural tones. So, uh, okay. So women are just starting to vote and prohibition starting in Virginia at the same time. You have chosen a very interesting setting for your novel there, my dear. But yeah, Spanish flu has a better ring to it than Kansas Group. I know the second one sounds like it'd make a great modern day band name. Because we've already done Kansas, so you can't do that. But you could make twist it. Yeah. Okay. So you it it's a very interesting transitional period, Earl. I kind of like that. Oh, you had to bite your tongue, not just calling some of the lessons kooky all the time. Don't buy. The only difference is that ex-theists know what it used to be like. Yes, I think that's fair. And it's why I do the channel, because I try to draw people out of that mindset, and it's hard. Earl says it's my superpower to get a hostile conversation turned positive, which I've done several times on this channel and other places. But it's like, I think mostly when I'm dealing with theists, I know the mental gymnastics that they do because I used to do them. So yeah, that's kind of fun. But yeah, I very much try to get the conversation going that way. When you're out of it for a while, you just don't buy it anymore. So it's that kind of thing. So just killing a bunch in the trenches. Called the Spanish. Oh, they were the first ones to report it. So time for a Scooby snack. Okay. A lot of lynchings in 1918. I can see my knowledge of that period of history is kind of hit and miss because I've read a few books, but it's not the same. So I had to play with it. There's horror, murder, mystery, comedy, smut, true historical elements. I worked on the plot. I wrote 60 words in less than 3 months. All was Stephen King. Okay. Yeah, but that's a very interesting time period setting. Um, see, a lot of the settings have been done too, like finding ways to do different things. So But yeah. The kind of virus. Well, this one was about how the way Moses God as characters treated Karash like utter crap and should be lessons for what not to do when somebody criticizes you. Okay. So, yes, the character that they, and some of the pushback was, but it wasn't Moses indeed appointed by God. I remember the story now. Okay. So you have this guy rebelling against Moses' authority. I do believe the text, Evan, says that Moses was in the right. That's why God killed these people. Like he ordered them to be killed. So the rebellion goes Moses's way, and Moses is supposedly vindicated by Yahweh in the story. So I guess I'm trying to figure out how they would come up with the idea that Moses was wrong. So you read it and it wasn't complete trash? That's usually the way it goes with my writing too. Yes, Korah rose up against Moses. So but Moses is vindicated in that story. So I'm not sure how somebody could spin it in such a way that Moses is in the wrong. And unless you want to completely, yeah, I mean, you want to completely avoid the fact that God is an asshole, because if Moses handled it wrong, then God also handled it wrong because God backed Moses. See, I mean, that's an interesting story. See, my thing with writing is I know I could write like good biblical fiction because of my familiar. I can like take Bible stories and give you the true rest of the story, fictional rest of the story, and have a good time with that. But I don't know if that's something that I would. So there's that. I don't know how they would get that Moses was the problem in the story, seeing he's the one that's ultimately vindicated by God himself. So you either have to conclude that Moses and God's collaboration is shitty, or you have to conclude that basically that Korah was the wrong party. So yeah. I mean, if you're interested in Earl, I do believe that Earl also uses some of her artwork when she writes her stuff. So make sure you check that out. Great stuff. It has been growing fast in religions. Maybe the religious folk decided to start World War III on purpose in an ugly attempt to save religion by scaring people. It would make a great movie. I agree with you. Is this letter in a biblical style? Yeah. Earl writes good stuff. I enjoy reading her stuff. So probably don't comment as much because I usually don't. I'm busy with stuff. So. See, I was saying the one that Moses was in the wrong and God along with him. Banging my head against the wall because the whole point of the lesson is that God of the Torah isn't somebody to listen to. Yeah, you're going to bang your head a lot, Evan. Trust me, whenever I sat down with some people that I used to know and start talking about the Bible, yeah. So that would be an interesting book too, The Legend of Earl in a biblical format. See, I don't know. See, I'm trying to think of what kind of Gospel of Fangs I would write, and would I do it in the style of the Gospels, or do I do it in the style of the Old Testament history? So, sitting on your prompt for ideas for ages. Yeah, I know. I got a lot of those too. As a writer, I keep a notebook with me and I write stuff down. And the funny thing is, for the last year, I've been doing that, but I haven't been writing anything. I got all these ideas in notebooks, and I haven't done anything. So it's something I'm working on changing. along with other things for the channel and my life in general. So, this is my Friday night, so I'll be working. I've got to get off here in about 5-10 minutes, but I'm enjoying the fun, and I'm wearing the fedora as promised. And I want to make sure we get a lot of that time in. So, and thanks everybody who supported me tonight. I appreciate all of you. You guys are awesome. My mods are awesome. It's been very quiet tonight for a deconversion hangout. The theist level has been low, like non-existent, and that's a rare moment. I appreciate that. So, books are too chaotic. See, I can't do that. I hate using my phone. That's where I get a little bit old school. Like I don't know. It's a tactile thing. Like I've got to have like a writing stick and a piece of paper with ideas. It's just kind of the way it is for me. So yeah, I know. It's just that one of my team members is going on vacation next week, so we're trying to get ahead so we don't get overwhelmed next week because she's going to be gone. And it'll just be the two of us trying to do all the mods in the Walmart Supercenter at night. So it's it's not a fun time, and I don't like we're ahead and we want to stay that way because we're getting behind is a pain in the ass. So yeah, I mean I'm here for the fun too. I mean I like to have topics at the beginning, but I like talking about this stuff at the end. I think for atheists, you really got to show your human side and what you're really about. Like I'm not evil, other than this artwork kind of depicts me as something a little less than good, I suppose. But that's kind of who I am in real life. Like I've long got past, if I'm the villain in somebody's story, yeah, I can roll with that. So go ahead. So there's that. Yeah, it's a life. The thing about it is, people ask me if it bothers me, and in truth, with the hypersensitivity to heat and light, it's better that I work at night. So, and I'm up all night because it's less stressful for me. When I was in Texas, I was always feeling stressed out and depressed, going back and forth between those two motions, and a lot of it me and my therapist now conclude that was a lot of hypersensitivity issues. Like I was not used to the heat. I was not used to the amount of light all the time. We'd be in the middle of winter and it's bright, sunshiny day and 50 degrees. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And yeah, it just bothered me a lot. So thirds actually fits me. Being the vampire fits me. I'm good. So yes, they are. Yeah, tons of people taking vacation. I am on vacation in the middle of July, and then I'm taking another one in the last week of October. And so the July one, half of that's with my family, but the first part is going to be just me off. So might get an extra stream in that week, earlier in the week. We'll see, maybe on a Sunday. So I can make up for it. But yeah, it's one of those issues that keeps coming up is getting time off. And I'm on a team of 3 people. So when one of us is missing, it hurts. So, and I took Sunday night off for a mental health day. So, this week already. So I don't dare do it again, but only have so much time off that I can take without getting points. So, and I'm still have another day, but I want to hold on to that for a bit. So, yeah, I'm a nocturnal person too. I've worked third so many years of my life. I don't know what the difference is. And when I was a minister, my average day that wasn't like a service day, I would find myself, I was usually up till 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd go to bed and be up at like 6 or 7. I don't sleep very much either. So, well, there you go. Crunch time. There you go. Oh, there you go. Yeah. See, you know, I got to do it too. I think the one in October I'm doing for myself more than anybody else because I want to participate in anything Halloween that week. So it's my new favorite holiday. So, but yeah, great artwork. If you haven't seen it, here's the other one. This is more of an AI one. I do like the touch with the carrots for fangs. I think that's hilarious. Sleep dinner all day. I kind of am that way too. I've been known to function perfectly fine on 3 hours, and then the next time I fall asleep, like on a weekend when I have the night off, I wake up at 6 or 7 on a Friday. Luckily I don't have a stream to do that day. That's why I keep it away. Friday is kind of my day to do whatever the hell I want. So once I get home from work and seeing my daughter. It's drifting, that's okay. Still hears, but I get frustrated with all the threats of what will happen if you fall away. Dude, I can't tell you. Like I've been running this channel, 5.5 years. It'll be 5.5 years at the beginning of July. I have lost track of the number of theists who have either private messaged me, emailed me, or straight up in the comments have told me that there's a worse place for me because I walked away. Like me and Judas Iscariot have the same place in hell. And so there's that. But yeah. Yeah, there you go. The hospital documentation is fun. Oh boy. Your customers are 3D artists. Oh, okay. So we'll be expecting to see some of your work in the future. Here's the thing, Ronald, about that issue, and I'm going to have to be quick here because I do have to get off. But is it so much? It's all they have at the end, or they've had their own doubts and they're suppressing them with their own anger? I've often asked that question when people do that to me. It's like they have their own doubts about their faith, and so they have to be overly emotional about how I'm a bad person for leaving it in order to justify their staying. So I think that's one of the things that bothers me the most now is when people go off on me like that. Like it's like, hey man, I'm not the bad guy here. I mean, if you have your doubts, express them. So, but yeah. So, but I think there's a lot of reasons why they hang on to faith, and they're all emotional, and then they go after me. Yeah. There's a lot of. See, it's funny, Ashera, how art means so much more to me now that I'm an atheist. Like, and I can explore different avenues of art when I don't have the limitations of a religion. Like one of my biggest problems when I was writing my blogs back in the day when I was still a Christian is how far do I go with a story? Like a lot of my novel work after I left the church had what I would call like very risque stuff. Like if you go to my current active blog is The Gray Wayfarer, although I haven't written on it in a couple of years, but on that one I wrote a story based on a Dungeons and Dragons, standalone adventure, and I went farther with it. But I literally created like a love fertility cult, and I would never have done that as a Christian. And just exploring certain aspects of how that would work. Because one of the clerics is part of the love fertility cult. How do you do that differently than the holy water throwing stuff like that? So I think the human experience means a hell of a lot more to me now than it ever did. And art is just one of those ways of expressing that. So I am very happy to have very talented people around me on this channel. Earl, many others that have contributed. I have people that are research people in different fields, it's like, it's kind of very, very much, I'm very happy for the group I have here, because if I don't know, somebody in the chat knows. Okay, so yes, that's right. Blessed be the Earl, blessed be Earl who the laugh from which our Lord naps. There you go. Yes, I can see that. Yes, see, that's the thing. It's like I love having this community because there's a lot of creative people here, and when you're coming out of the faith, creativity becomes your way of dealing with a lot of it. I know it's been mine. Like writing for a long time was my way of dealing with leaving the faith. So, um, and the process by which I left the faith. So it's something I appreciate human experience and art and stuff like that, because it's such an expression of the finite time I have left. And so I enjoy it much more. Like, this, Earl's done a lot of pictures that I've really appreciated. Like this one, is, I like this one a lot, because it's kind of an expression of a culmination of our work together, on this channel. And I've appreciated Earl every step of the way. So between Fangs and the lightning bolt and the crowd of people behind us that represent you, the listeners, we appreciate all of you. Okay. We really do. Even the ones that irritate us from time to time. So, but it's like, yeah, yeah, I've kind of gone down that avenue too, Earl, because it's in Christendom, it's kind of it's taken me a long time to get past all the taboos and stuff. I'm finally getting there. So a couple of years ago, I kind of arrived there, and now I'm like, yeah, atheist. Yeah, there we go. There you go. You start to realize that none of that was evil in the first place. It's just theists. Yeah, I have an appreciation for life, and I have appreciation for the people around me that do human things and appreciate their humanness. So that's good. Well, folks, I do have to go. I've already stretched it as it is, but I have to get ready for work and leave for work, and want to make sure I get all that done. But a very fun stream, very good one. This is Deconversion Hangout. So if we just hang out together and lift each other up, I'm good with that, and appreciate each other. I'm good with that too. So some pretty good discussions earlier about, communion. Communion. I must remind everybody of this piece of artwork too. Washing the blood of Christ out of all your clothes. It really is. So thanks everybody. Appreciate all of you. Hope you have a great day. Appreciate the support today. Thanks everyone. May Fangs nibble on your heart. May your teeth always be pointy. May his fang marks always be found in your vegetables, so you know they're pure. And make sure that you look at Fangs in a new way every day that relates more and more to you. And nom nom and all of that. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around, and then it's over. So you want to take all your time, money, opportunities, artistic endeavors, and spend them on yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith. That's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, folks, thanks for stopping by, and I will catch you all next time.